days of strength, will, and desire, building a future for me and you. Let's get inspired and shine the spotlight on the CUSW. Hello and welcome to the CUSW Spotlight Podcast, brought to you by the Canadian Union of Skilled Workers, established in 1999. CUSW has been empowering its members and shaping the future of skilled trades for over 25 years. In this podcast, we shine a spotlight on the people, stories, and values that make CUSW a strong and dynamic community. It's an exciting time to be part of this union, and we're here to celebrate the journey, achievements, and dedication of skilled workers. So turn up the volume and let's get started. Here's your host for the CUSW Spotlight Podcast, Mr. Dan Plexman.
Hello, everyone. It's time to flick the switch. It's time to turn on the CUSW Spotlight. Today, I'm very, very proud to have our good friend and our colleague, Cody Quan, and we're going to be sparking up a really powerful conversation with him. Hey, Cody, how are you doing today?
I'm quite well. Thanks for the introduction, Dan.
Good to see you again. Just curious, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe tell us how you fit into the CUSW family?
Yeah, thanks for this, Dan. I'm really excited to be here, excited to have the platform, share a little bit about myself and kind of what I've been up to. So I'm a CUSW member. I have been since 2014. I started my electrical apprenticeship, my 309A apprenticeship, working at Saunders Dam in Eastern Ontario. I transitioned from there to Hydro One and stations construction in the East, where I stayed, right up until now. I received my certificate of qualification, so I've been through the CUSW apprenticeship program. And then after some time in the field, I've worn quite a few hats for CUSW. And currently I'm the training and education representative, the lead on the operations side of CUSW, working with the organization to meet the training and education needs of our members.
I've done a couple episodes so far, and I'm starting to see a trend here with us CUSW members where we seem to wear many hats and we cover a few different roles within our specific job titles.
Maybe I could start there in talking about that a little bit. I think that when we talk about training and education is a key function of my job is looking around and seeing that we have, all of these positions and we have a lot of people that wear many hats, and we need to figure out how to get many more people into many more seats to fill many more roles. I'd like to talk a little bit more about capacity building as we have our conversation here, but I think that's a core function of what we should discuss today is, how do we build that capacity? How do we empower people to say, yeah, I want to step into this role, or push their boundaries of their comfort level to try something new and to step into these positions where they can make an impact for others. I think that's really important. We have lots of really great people, but we could have more great people if we really put our minds to it.
Right. And if I'm understanding you correctly, you're not really talking specifically about increasing the size of our membership, even though we are looking for members. But I think you're more specifically talking about the existing members stepping up and participating more in the form and functions of the union, if I'm following you correctly.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. We have all kinds of roles, whether it's with the units, national committees, in the workplace as a steward or maybe a health and safety rep, as a national executive board member, within a joint committee in the workplace. There are all kinds of opportunities to participate in different functions. And it's just bringing awareness, raising the profile of those positions so people have a firm understanding of, what's expected of these positions, what sort of power do you have whenever you sit in as part of the unit? What does that mean? What do you get to do? How does that benefit CUSW members and Canadians? So raising the profile is one aspect, and then, making sure that there's support and training that goes along with that. So that way individuals that do step forward into those roles, they feel firmly supported that they're going to be able to succeed.
Yeah, what you were just saying there, it bodes well with CUSW's foresight and maybe our progressive attitude into training and to teaching the workers how the union works before they even get on the job site. Uh, there's so much that happens behind the scenes that a lot of the workers don't even understand. Like myself, when I signed up in 2005, I had already been working for other unions for my whole life, and I understood the value of an organization and having representation. But there's something different with CUSW. We uh, we have a much more progressive and a more family oriented core of values that I notice, and I really appreciate the mentality that we all share.
Yeah, I can't reinforce what you just said enough. Myself, I'm a younger guy. I have a very young family, and the fact that I'm able to participate at the level I am and bring my family along, that can't be understated. More and more, when we're doing things, when we're creating activities, we're trying to include the whole family. Right now, we're going through a unit capacity building program. We're trying to take the units, kind of I wouldn't say that they're going through an identity crisis, but I would say that people aren't clear on what the function of the unit is supposed to be. So, kind of revisiting that. How do they engage in their communities? How do members connect with their family and the community? And that's kind of the focus there. And, I've never seen an organization like this. And if there are other organizations out there like this, I would love to meet them because this has been a very positive experience for me and my family, anyways.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like, let's say our health and safety conference every year. For the last 3 years, we've been actively incorporating and allowing the families and the union members to take part in our yearly safety conference. And the feeling is awesome. We have like a banquet at the end of the conference. It's a Halloween based dance, costumes, everything, kids, families. It's really enjoyable. And that for me, I think is probably one of my highlights of my CUSW experience is just seeing how we all function together on a social setting. The hallway conversations that we have at all these different events, they always end up back to the CUSW membership and how we can improve things. Um, I'm just curious about yourself. As far as your experience with CUSW, what's been the highlight of your moments and your memories with CUSW?
Great question, Dan. I like sitting down to reflect on what we've done. In my short time as the training education lead, it's been about 18 months now. We've really taken a holistic view at what we do for training and education. I think one of the things that I'm most excited about is our new learning management system that we're implementing. So that's really, really exciting. We're able to transition from what we've done in the past as it pertains to computer-based training, CBTs, as we often refer to them in the field. And we're able to transform that learning into something that is more tangible, is more personalized to each member. We're able to take roles within the organization. So earlier when I was talking about giving a platform or a presence to some of these roles and then supporting them, we're able to take a role, like a steward, for instance, and create a learning path within this new learning management system where a steward can go on and they can see their required learning and the path to get there. And it can be both a mix of online and in-person trainings that they're required to attend, and it tracks all of that for them. And it links directly to their skills profile within our CRM. So it's all skill recorded and it's reflected directly within their user profile. So I think that's been a huge highlight. I think it's been a long time coming for the organization. It allows us to connect members who have skills to work a lot better. And now we get to do the fun part of starting to determine what skills mesh with what user profiles. And that could be for a variety of different things: units, national committees, the National Executive Board. It could be, members that want a certificate in any field. We can do this sort of training. And it allows us the ability to create sort of academies of learning as well. In 2025, the goal of the training organization is to develop a leadership academy. So when you look at leadership within a workplace, we typically have supervisors, stewards, and health and safety representatives. So there's a few streams there. that people could choose. And it's allowing people to engage in putting their hand up and saying, I'd like to participate in one of these roles, and us providing them awareness and training on that role prior to them, raising their hand for election or prior to a workplace picking a supervisor. It allows them to pick from a pool of people that are coming trained and qualified. And I think that's really important for the success of CUSW as we grow.
Okay, so for me to understand this a little bit more clearly, we already have a base of training that the members can take to bring to the job site. And if I'm understanding, this training that you're speaking of is on training members within roles of the union for helping with the form and functions of the union rather than the workers at the job site?
I actually think it's a mix of both. Yeah, I think you're on the right path. When we talk about prerequisites for work, we have that training. We're doing lots of work trying to connect with partners, whether it be community colleges, whether it be third-party enterprises, to connect members with skill development to make sure that they have certificates or qualifications that allow them access to work.
Right.
So that's going on, and that's how we're getting them to work. But once they're in the workplace, I don't think anybody goes to work, or I don't think there's a whole lot of kids out there dreaming to not get into an organization and then move through that organization at some point. We're talking about providing programs that individuals can leverage to help them move through their career. So if somebody's an aspiring supervisor, before they're ready for the employer to say, we're looking for supervisors, they can go out and they can receive base training around supervision. So when the employer is looking around going, who out there can I select that would make a good supervisor? They already have somebody that's put their hand up, gone through a little bit of work, and is showing a willingness to step into that role. Same thing whenever we do workplace representation elections for stewards and health and safety representatives. If we have something similar, when workplaces are unsure about who to elect or who to nominate, if there's somebody that has a firm understanding of that role, they're more likely to be recognized and be nominated by their peers. So we're trying to set people up not only for the start of their career, but to grow through their career. And I think both paths are great for the employer. When we have strong stewards and health and safety reps, they get a raised profile with the employer. I don't think it's just about conflict with the employer. They're in front of management. They're working on trying to resolve things that are mutually beneficial. Of course, there are times where we're going to get into disputes with employers, but that isn't the intention. The intention is to work with them, try to work through issues before they become issues. And these individuals, whether they know it or not, are gaining a whole bunch of core skills that can be leveraged later on in their career: communication skills, public speaking skills, problem solving skills, right? So like as we elevate people into supervisor roles, the employer is also looking at, the leadership elsewhere in the organization with stewards and health and safety reps. That's why we see a lot of them after they leave a representative role, they end up taking a supervision role.
Okay, that's a fantastic model. I really like that. It kind of reminds me of like a pre-apprenticeship program where high school kids, they take a high school course at school, like in shop class, to get them into an apprenticeship. And this pre-apprenticeship model, it almost seems to line up parallel exactly with supervisor in training, like you're saying, or a job steward in training, that sort of thing, which is what we need. Everybody needs mentoring. We all need supervision, and who else to learn from people who've done it before.
I agree with you, Dan.
I really like how we're moving forward as a union, the different movements and the agendas, the initiatives that CUSW is pushing forward. We're very progressive. We have lots on the go. Um, what do you look forward to with your future with CUSW? What's coming up in the near future for all of us?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As we kind of navigate through these next couple of years, I have a anxious anticipation of what's going to happen. 2026 is an election year for CUSW. One of the things that makes CUSW so great is how we're truly democratic. But every 3 years, we go through a little period of unrest here where we have an election cycle. The new units, new workplace representatives, a whole new challenge of trying to get people, kind of all rowing the boat in the same direction. And then we have a new board, potentially a new chair of the board. And, what does that look like? What I'm excited for is this opportunity for us to educate members on each of these roles. I think that we need to raise the platform of the National Executive Board. Who's on there? What is it that they do? What does the recorder do? What does the treasurer do? What does the chair do? Really make people consider these as viable options for them to step into. We have an opportunity here that I don't think we've seen in the past with the way that we've transitioned learning management system, the way that we're communicating with people, the way that we're connecting our national committees. Quarterly, they come in for a workshop. We're now doing unit capacity building. We're getting this core group of people engaged. We have an opportunity here to keep that momentum going, to reach more people, to allow more people to see that CUSW is pulling people, the rank and file member, up, elevating them into positions, and those people are making the decisions that benefit their coworkers, that benefit their fellow member, that benefit Canadians as a whole. And that's what the whole thing is about. So trying to keep that momentum going, with an opportunity that we have here to train and educate is kind of what I'm really looking forward to, Dan. I think that we have a unique opportunity here for sure.
Oh yeah. Like everybody always thinks whatever organization they're involved with is the best. It's kind of like your dog. Everybody thinks that their dog is the best dog in the world. Well, I truly feel CUSW is the best union in the world. I've lived a lot of different unions, and even still, nothing's perfect. Every organization has flaws. Every organization has some hiccups within the group, and I'm just wondering, do you see any room for improvement within our organization? Is there anything that seems to come up where we can improve?
Actually, Dan, I think we're perfect. No, I'm just I'm just kidding. No, there's obviously room for improvement in every organization. I think that every time that we get a step closer to being more refined, we need to take an unguarded view of ourselves or a 30,000-foot view and say, where can we be better? A couple areas, like we saw unprecedented growth over the last 10 years. I expect that we see that similar growth. So how we're responding to the needs of 5,000 members now, will it be the same at 10,000? Will it be the same at 100,000? So I think we need to constantly be willing to challenge ourselves and improve process to make sure that we're scalable. As that scale grows, we're moving with it. I think that's something that we're going to be challenged with. And I think that the only way for us to do that is to really communicate. I don't think that's something we do very well. I think this podcast is an excellent opportunity for us to branch outside of typical communications. Emails don't work. We all know this. It's becoming increasingly hard to connect with members. COVID made it very hard to meet with members. So I feel like there's a disconnect that we need to get back to bridging. And we need to sit down with members face to face in community, in workplaces, in units, in front of national committees, and really kind of go through how decisions are made within the organization and show them that logic tree. This is how we come up with decisions. We need decisions that benefit the many and not the few. We need decisions that benefit the organization and the members of CUSW and not just the individual out there. It's a large scale. We're not going to get every decision right. It's impossible. But if we can communicate effectively how we're reaching these decisions, my hope is that there'd be a mutual understanding. We need to be able to disagree out there and not be disagreeable. We need to put all options on the table. We need to investigate. We need to review that. And then we need to come out with outcomes that meet the results of where we need to go. And if we do that and we're open, honest, very transparent about how we're doing this, I think that's how we can become scalable. I think that's how we, go from 50 people doing everything to 200 people doing everything. I think that's how CUSW grows. I think that's where we need to improve that.
Yeah, you said two things that really popped out of my mind. The first thing you said was looking at ourselves from the 30,000 feet above. It reminded me of like the fly on the wall perspective, where you look at yourself and you look at every situation from the third person. That's when you can really see how things are working. And with the communication end of things, it's the basis of everything. We can't create anything unless we communicate the idea. Like we can think of something, but unless you can explain it, no one's going to understand what you're talking about. So it makes sense what you're saying. I really appreciate this look on communication, because I'm noticing it's a real theme throughout our members that we need to communicate. So,
Yeah, and I think that the organization's gone through some changes. We've really looked at the way governance works within CUSW. Now we've taken a look at operations. We need to communicate that to individuals. This podcast is an excellent platform. We're going to try to highlight this in the newsletter. We're going to try to highlight this where we can so people understand who's working for them, how this works, and how they fit into that. So, yeah, as we grow, as we make decisions like that one, we need to communicate it so that way people can still understand how to participate.
okay, following along with our theme of communication that we've kind of come up with from the last question, I'm just curious, maybe you can communicate a parting message that you might have for everybody at home listening and viewing us today, for our work lives or home lives, for life in general. Uh, what would you like to convey to everybody at home?
Yeah, I think if I could part with anything, Dan, I would part with just encouraging people to keep an open mind. We're really fortunate to exist within this organization. We choose to be CUSW members. When the founding members left IBW Local 1788 back in 1999, they created an organization that Canadians hadn't seen before. That sort of flexibility that we are afforded today allows us to be creative in a problem-solving arena that we're challenged with every day. When we look around and we see the problems that are in front of us, we can come up with creative solutions to meet those problems, to work with employers, to work with partners out there to try to develop relationships to overcome obstacles jointly. We have all the latitude in the world. We just need to leverage it. So we're far too often met with a problem and we back down because there's a little bit of resistance. I think we need to have an open mind and rise up and overcome these obstacles and get as creative as we can. That's the fun part here. Um, that's what I'd like to leave everybody with, Dan.
Yeah, that makes total sense. If you look at us as an organization, like we're standing over 4,000 members strong across Canada, as far as BC for sure, and as far as Ontario, even farther. We reach around. There's lots of moving parts. There's lots of things going on in our group of people, and that's not even including the job sites and the work scope that we do. There's no way that we can solve all the problems and fix everything, but we have to try. And the only way to do this is with creative problem solving. And it's impossible to be creative if you don't have an open mind. And
Yeah.
that's what I picked up from what you just laid down. So I don't know.
No, I think you're exactly right. But to leverage a few examples, our workplaces are evolving. They aren't what they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. They aren't 30, 50 years ago. They're safer. They're more psychologically sound. People are getting up in the morning and they're going to work and, we're hoping to see them return home safely at a higher rate as we move forward. And to make sure that we have safe workplaces, we need to come with a base understanding of where everybody's coming from. So leveraging partnerships like Interville House of Hamilton, who helps us with gender-based violence training to make sure that, have workplaces that are safe for women to enter. The formerly the Aboriginal Apprenticeship Board of Ontario, the Indigenous Skills Education Apprenticeship and Development. They help us with Indigenous cultural competency training, so that way Indigenous peoples can enter our workplaces and feel comfortable. So eliminating these barriers, making safer workplaces, and leveraging partnerships to do that's really important. And that's just one way we can do this. There's a million ways that we can sort of break down this problem. And we need members to come forward. When members bring forward recommendations, we need to be open-minded ourselves, take them into consideration, and when possible, implement them. That's how we'll be stronger.
Yeah, what you're saying there, it makes me proud to be part of such an inclusive organization. We take all comers, we really do. Um, Looking back at your CSW career, do you have any regrets? Anything that you'd like to have a redo over the years?
Wow, that's an interesting question, Dan. Yeah, I guess so. It's hard to look back and probably admit any regrets. I think one is just not getting started earlier. I did start quite young, but it was with delay, it was with hesitation. I didn't jump in with both feet whenever I did. And, the more I started to do, the more I started to learn, the more I got excited about it, and, the farther I've gone. And if we can get one person, three people, five people looking back to have kind of taken a similar path or to have gotten more engaged or to just start, I feel like that would have been time better spent by me. And that's something that I'm pretty dedicated to now, is trying to get more people in the boat and row with us rather than row past them whenever we're trying to accomplish things.
I feel exactly the same way. I look back at my life in general, and yeah, there's so many different opportunities that were offered to me throughout the years that I didn't take sooner. And CSW is one of them, because I could have joined earlier than I did, but I didn't. And when I did, I was very proud and very grateful that I did, because I could see the organization within. So I like that a lot, Cody. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Cody, I think we've had a great conversation today, and I'm positive everybody at home appreciates your input. Thanks for being the focus on the CUSW Spotlight for this episode. We really appreciate your time and your input.
Well, thanks, Dan. I really appreciate you guys having me on. I just want to say, go Sens go. So I'll end this off.
Yeah, yeah. I got to tell everybody, Cody, he said he was a little bit nervous today, and it shocked me because he's such a natural speaker. It's obvious. To contact myself, to contact Cody Quan, if you have any suggestions, maybe you have some show ideas, maybe you want to be a guest on the show, please refer to the show description. You can find all of our contact information there, and feel free to reach out to any of us. We'd love to talk to you. And before we dim the lights on the show and head home, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in today. Until we meet again, continue shining the CUSW Spotlight. Thank you. The annual conference and the dinner and dance are both coming up this October 3rd and 4th in exciting Niagara Falls. These events are open only to CUSW members and their families, and space is limited, so check your emails and register soon. The theme of the annual Health, Safety and Wellness Conference is Living on the Level, Empowering Life Balance. And the National Social Committee Dinner and Dance is a dress-up party, so don't forget to wear your costume. See you there.
Thank you for shining bright in the CUSW Spotlight. Let's get inspired and shine a spotlight on CUSW.
I think that's a wrap, Cody.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, no problem.
That was fun.